Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I've been experimenting. I've been watching a brilliant lady here on YouTube, whose name now escapes me, but I will make sure to leave a link to her below. Brilliant. I've been watching her tutorials about using Inktense pencils on fabric without using any fabric medium and stuff. So I've had a bit of an experiment. Now what she recommended was using a type of calico with a sizing on it, a kind of a starchy finish on it, which stops the Inktense pencils, when you activate them with water, from spreading outside the lines. I couldn't find any fabric easily available to me that had that finish on. So I've had a bit of an experiment. I've got some of this American muslin. I bought it at work. It's relatively inexpensive. And what I've done is I've tried out various substances on it just to see what the effect would be. Now the most successful of all was this cheap ordinary hairspray, which is brilliant because it doesn't stink. Well, it smells, but it's a pleasant smell, you know. It's really cheap. It dries really fast. It makes the fabric curve slightly, but yeah, that just soon disappears. So I tried it twice just to be sure, and you can see that I've drawn a line first with this heat erasable friction pen, and you can see that when I've activated the Inktense pencils, it hasn't gone outside the line at all. So I'm really pleased about that. Here are the other ones I tried. So I thought I'll try transparent gesso, and to my surprise it did actually leak outside the line. Now that could be because I didn't apply it very well, but I can feel a stiffness there because the fabric in its natural state is quite soft, so I don't think it's that. I tried again and it seemed okay, but because it does make it quite stiff, that's not going to be so nice to sew through. So I think still the hairspray has it, and I really hope it's not just a fluke and it's going to work reliably for me. This one was a different type of hairspray, it was quite an expensive volumizing hairspray, and it didn't work as well, so no need to waste my money on that. This one was using, and I tried it twice just to be sure, a fixative spray, one of those fixatives you get for, you know, when you're doing charcoal and pastel type drawings, and that didn't really work at all reliably, as you can see. I mean, sometimes these, you know, letting the colour bleed out in it is going to be a desirable effect, and I'm certainly not going to throw these little bits away. They will get used in some little piece of something. And this just to see, just as a kind of a control, this was the fabric just as it came, so you can see how soft and quite thin it is. With the hairspray it is a little bit stiffer, but I think it's still going to be nice and easy to put my needle through, because what I want to be able to do is to stitch on top of this. So what I've done is I've taken a larger piece of fabric. Oh no, do you know what? I can't remember which way up it was now. I hope that's the right way up. And I've sprayed it with hairspray and I've left it to dry, and I've drawn myself a really simple rainbow scene, which I'm going to transfer onto this fabric with my friction pen. And this will erase either by applying friction with the tip, the end of the pen, or I can blast it with my hairdryer, or I've even hung it over a radiator. So any kind of heat will get rid of these lines afterwards. I'm just going to sketch them in quite thinly. I've made the drawing a little bit too big for my paper, and what I'm thinking is I could, if this works out, I could use it for this page in my Create This book, which is Create a Fabric page. Attach a piece of fabric or bits of fabric to this page. So now it's a little bit big to go in the page, to go in the book, but it will shrink a bit, and I can always cut it down. And it might not even get used to the book at all, it's just an experiment really. So, right, so first thing is just to get this sketched out. I'm not tracing it very accurately, but it really doesn't matter. I'm just interested to see how, that's another reason for drawing the lines really. It's not just as a guide, it's also just to see how accurately I can get the colour to stay inside those lines. Right, I finished tracing that out. I've got myself a jar of water and a paintbrush. Now I can either scribble onto this fabric first, or just wet the brush and take the colour off of the pencil and apply it that way, which when I'm working on paper I tend to find can be a more subtle, less kind of streaky way of putting it on. So I might try both and see how it goes. This is just an experiment after all. So I've got this lovely sunshine yellow first. It's come out lovely and bright just like that actually, but let's see what happens when I wet it. The thing about these Inktense pencils is that the vibrancy of the pigment really comes out when you wet it. That one's not changing an awful lot because it was pretty vibrant already. There we go. So now we get to see if... Now I do need to be careful, I don't want to encourage it outside the lines. There's a little hint of it starting to go outside the line at one point there, which is disappointing. Yeah, it's definitely going outside the line. Oh, I'm disappointed. Maybe I just got lucky that first time. Let's see, maybe I didn't apply the hairspray thickly enough there. Let's keep going. Right, I'm going to start with this red. This is called Hot Red, I think. Hot Red. And I think I'm going to put all the rainbow colours on first and then activate it all at one time. It's amazing how nicely these go onto the fabric. And I'm pressing very lightly here. Quite often you find with the Inktense pencils they look a little bit kind of dark and not all that impressive, and then when you wet them, that's when they come to life. Because if I was sensible I would have swatched all these colours first, because they do tend to change a little bit, well, quite a lot when you wet them, so I might regret this, but hey, as I keep saying, it is just an experiment. Well, the thing about these pencils as well is you don't have to colour in perfectly, you just want the colour to be, well, at least when you do it on paper anyway, you want the colours to be roughly where you want it to be, and then you kind of finish spreading it when you get it wet. If that makes sense, you don't have to fully colour it all in. Okay, now this is the exciting and slightly scary part. Is it all going to go horribly wrong at this stage? I'm a bit worried that by having my hands over this I might rub off that layer of hairspray. I don't know. I don't know how durable it's going to be. It only needs to stay there until once I've activated this Inktense and it's dry, it won't go anywhere. It just needs to stop it bleeding out while it's wet. No, it's bleeding out. It's a bit disappointing. It's okay though. I will work with it. I'm just going to have to try and find some of this fabric with the finish on that it's a type of calico she was using. I just need to find one that's got this finish on. I mean, it's still, even if I can't get it to stay accurately in the lines, it will still be a lovely way of applying colour to fabric. This is working in some places and not others. It might just be that I'm really not getting a good enough coat of the hairspray on there. Yeah, it's bleeding out quite a lot, you can see. Oh, it's a shame. I really thought I'd hit on something there. Can you see there? The other thing I could do is allow for that bleeding out and just stay inside the lines. And in this case, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to be able to make use of this anyway. And so in some areas there, it hasn't bled out at all. Right, for this next bit, I'm going to try applying it this way, where you just take the colour off the pencil with a wet brush and apply it like paint. It's far too dark there, so I'm hoping to get a sort of cloudy looking sky, and I don't want the sky to be one uniform blue, because the sky isn't one uniform blue. Now at some point this is going to want to run in together, and I can let it do that a little bit, because that's kind of what rainbows do. They do kind of merge with the sky. Right, so this isn't working in the way I was hoping it was going to, so I'm going with the flow. And I'm hoping that everything's going to work out. Might be interesting. I know that on paper I would expect this to dry up lighter. I'll be interested to see if it does the same on here or kind of less so. It's looking a bit too intense at the moment. The rainbow is definitely looking too intense. Okay, let's do some green. This is all going way over the lines now, but it is getting pretty soaking wet. Well, the other thing that apparently people do is use a fabric medium, and that's supposed to control everything. So I might just have to get some of that, but it would be nice if I could have done without. Well, I've been and given it a blast with my hairdryer to dry everything off. The colours have faded down a little bit, but not much. I almost hoped they would a little bit more, but it's good to know that they keep their intensity. So what I'm going to do now is, and you can see that the lines from the friction pen have completely disappeared as well, so that's good. Right, so that's all the colouring I'm going to do. I'm going to take this away now and stitch on it, and I promise you it will be looking a lot better when I come back and show you the final result. If it doesn't, I won't be coming back and showing you. Okay, I'm back. I finished doing my stitching. I'm not quite sure how successful this is as a page, but I have learnt a lot from this process. I went away after I finished filming last time. It's been a few days actually, and I washed the piece of fabric just to see how well the colours, the Inktense colours, stayed put, and they absolutely didn't move at all, so that was good. You can see it's left it all a bit crinkly, but I don't mind that. And then I kind of just stitched into it with stranded embroidery thread, and just used a combination of straight stitch and a few chain stitches in there, put them all in different directions to sort of make it more interesting. Stitched into the rainbow and the sun, but just left the cloudy sky bit alone. And then I thought I'd pick up, for the opposite page, I'd pick up some of the colours that I used in here and just make like a patchwork on this page. I did my black and white stripe around there. I've added my arrow because that's one of my rules that I keep forgetting about. I've still got to sign and date stamp it, and then I just sort of tore the fabric away so that you can see the prompt underneath. Like I say, not sure quite how successful it is as a page, but it was fun. It's a bit different. It feels lovely, and I did learn a lot from it. One thing I did want to mention is that I had a bit more of an experiment with the Inktense on fabric. I actually sent for some aloe vera gel, because that's one of the things that you're supposed to be able to use as a medium to stop the Inktense spreading. So here I use the aloe vera gel just on a little brush, and you can see there's been no bleeding outside the lines at all. Then I thought, well, you know, how different is that from normal hand gel? And I knew I had some hand gel in my craft room here because I was going to use it for an image transfer technique that I'd seen. So I dug that out, and I know this was cheap. This is really cheap. I bought it for like a couple of quid at most. Interestingly, it's got aloe vera in it. So I don't know if it's that. I'm going to have to get some hand gel without aloe vera in now just to be sure. But again, there's no movement outside the line. Then I thought, a lot of what's in these hand gels is just alcohol, so I just used some neat IPA, isopropyl alcohol, I buy in a huge bottle. And again, no bleeding outside the line. You can see a tiny bit of colour there, but I think that was where I actually penciled outside the line. Then, just to be sure there wasn't something you know, different about how I was applying the pencils or something, I also did it with water, and you can see that with just plain water there's a big ring of colour leaching outside of the lines. So I did learn a lot from this process, even though maybe the page isn't my most favourite ever page. It's a little bit of interest, it's a nice texture in the book, and I learned such a lot from this process. I definitely will look forward to using these Inktense pencils in this way again, and if I was using it for more of a fabric type, a stitching type project rather than in this book, I would put some batting behind here, and another piece of fabric, so that then when I stitch in, I'd be quilting the picture that I've created with the Inktense colours. So yeah, I definitely want to have a go at doing some more of that. So yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.